Here we are. Welcome to today's live. I'm so excited. Funnily enough, I am like almost out of breath, rushing to my desk, rushing to get to the live. This is actually the first time in all of the lives I've done, I've actually had to like rush down to my seat. So I'm still catching my breath. My heart is pumping. I got the stress hormones a little bit, but you know what? That is okay. I've got Milli Vanilli hair. I'm probably aging myself, but I'm sure a lot of you here in the group know who Milli Vanilli is. That's all I can see when I look at myself, but that's okay. We're not talking about my hair. We're moving on. We are here to talk today about victim mentality. And before I even get started, I know that this is something that a lot of different people struggle with. I know thank you. Krista says my hair is gorgeous. Thank you. I'm letting my wild side out today. Anyways, I know that victim mentality can be a sensitive topic for some people. And I'm not coming into this topic pointing fingers or being like, you should do this, you shouldn't behave like that, you shouldn't do this and that. I am coming here with the purpose of educating you on this concept, on this topic, so that you can identify if this is perhaps a lens through which you're viewing the world, so that you can make small changes to uplift yourself, to push yourself to take your control back. Last week we talked so much about projection and taking back that control, and I want us to continue to do that today with this topic of victim mentality. So yes, that is what our topic is about today. Say hi in the comments. I am seeing them. I am seeing you. I am excited to interact with you. If I do not respond to a question throughout the live, I will certainly get to it at the end, but we're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into it. I'm going to pull up my notes. So yes, like I said, there's a ton of reasons why I wanted to talk about this, and a lot of it stems from my own personal experience, because I spent the majority of my life feeling as though and living as though I was a victim of circumstance. I was a victim to things that happened to me in my youth. I was a victim for the way my life was playing out. I was a victim because I wasn't happy. I lived this out for a very, very long time, and I know what it feels like, and I know how demoralizing it can be. So this is a little bit personal for me, because I want to show you what is possible. I want to show you and bring to your awareness that it doesn't have to be this way, because at the end of the day, at the very core, victim mentality, what we're talking about here, it disempowers you. It is another way we are giving our power away to other people and allowing other people, or allowing external circumstance to dictate how we live our life, to dictate how we feel. And we in this group are not about that. We are about taking our power back. We are about empowering ourselves, because we are resilient and we can absolutely do it. And it's not too late, right? And now I want to start with a caveat, because I am not for one moment minimizing or invalidating the experiences of people that have been victim of assault, of crime, of anything like that. There are a lot of people that are victims of really terrible, terrible things. What I'm talking about is remaining in ego-based victim mentality. So I want to kind of put that out there. If you have been a victim of anything at all, whatever it may be, I don't want you to feel like this is minimizing to you, because it certainly is not. It is absolutely recognizing what you've been through and saying, I am not going to let that person have control over me anymore and continue to make me feel like I'm a victim. No more. No, thank you. Alicia says, holy goddess of beauty. It's my Milli Vanilli hair. Milli Vanilli goddess. That's what we are here. But so what I'm saying, it's going to be one of those days, guys. When I'm talking about victim mentality, I'm referring to those individuals who perceive themselves to be a victim all the time, regardless of their circumstances, regardless as if they're going through something difficult right now. It doesn't matter if they were a victim in the past. They hold on to this mentality and continue to consider themselves a victim over and over and over again, no matter what the circumstances. So if you are here, you might feel like any of these kind of feel familiar. If your mindset is always geared towards injustice that has happened to you, if you are continuously thinking, the world has happened to me, it's keeping me down, I'm under its thumb, all these people did this to me, I am the way I am because of other people, this one is for you. If you feel powerless to the environment around you, like your external environment, where you're living, where your community, your housing situation, if you're feeling like you're powerless to that environment, this is another reason why this might have spoken to you. If you're unwilling to admit or consider yourself to be at fault for anything, and this is going to be a hard one to admit because nobody likes to say, I am blatantly pushing blame onto other people. I am not taking responsibility for any of my own actions. I am putting that on others. If you consistently feel unlucky, and I hear this all the time from women, oh, I have the worst luck, and bad things always happen to me, and that's the kind of luck I have. That's who I am. I've been that way my whole life. That is a victim mentality statement. So I want you to recognize that. And if you're feeling unlucky, especially when good things are happening, when brilliant things are happening, and you're like, I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop, or I'm just waiting for things to happen, the bad to come along, with that kind of pessimistic outlook, that is, again, a victim mentality. If you're of the opinion that the entire world is out to get you, that no matter how hard you try, and it doesn't matter what you do, and it doesn't matter what you say, because the whole world is out to get you regardless, again, you see how this pattern is emerging of this feeling like it's outside of you, like everything that's happened to you is outside of you, and you are spinning out of control, and you have no way of dealing with it. You have no way of making any changes because all of this has happened to you as a result of your external environment. And if you're tired of feeling as though life is happening to you and you want to take back control and you want to learn how to empower yourself and learn how to slowly move out of victim mentality, girl, I got you. I am here for you. I am ready to show you the way, or at least provide you some education so you can start taking those small steps. Are you ready to feel powerful? Yes, yes, yes. Do one of these. I love one of these every now and again. And if you're watching live, do it with me. This is you being powerful, and recognize you have the capacity to shift your life. It is within your grasp. You can do it, but it's got to start with you. And at the end of the day, if you want to move forward, you have to stop blaming others for your life and recognize the role that you've played in maintaining it, the role you've played in keeping stuck and keeping stagnant, and the amount of power you have to take it back. You just have to have a willingness to say enough is enough. I will no longer be a victim. I will no longer stand for this, period. I am taking my power back. I am stepping into my worth, and I'm going to make the shifts that I need to make in my life to feel good for me, and nobody else gets to tell me otherwise. So let me hear heck yeah. Anyways, let's move on. Definition, shall we? I mean, you guys have been to enough of these to know how I lay it out and how I do it. We're gonna start with definition. Victim mentality, a psychological term that refers to a type of mindset. Keep that in mind. This is a mindset which seeks to feel persecuted in order to gain attention or avoid responsibility. So it's twofold there. A victim mentality is a way for you to gain attention in a lot of ways, because people, and we're going to go through this later, why people actually do this, why people stay in victim mentality. It is a way to gain attention from other people. It's just, we have to look at it like, is this the kind of attention that I want, or do I want to be known for something else? Do I want to be known and have people, cater to me because I'm a victim, or do I want them to feel inspired? Do I want them to pay attention to me because I have something valuable to say, because my energetic output is that fierce that people want to be in my circle? What do you want to be known for? And victim mentality also, again, allows you to avoid responsibility. You don't have to take responsibility for your actions, for the role you've played in your life, because you're busy blaming it on other people. So that's one definition. A clinical psychology definition is a person with victim mentality describes a personality trait of persons. Wow, this is a lot of persons. I didn't even realize that when I was writing it. Who believe they are constantly the victims of the harmful actions of others, even when made aware that there is evidence of the contrary. So even if you say to somebody, or if somebody says to you, hey, Denise, no, I mean, you've had some challenges in your life, but you're very blessed and you can move out of this. The victim mentality, the person that views the lens from victim mentality will be like, nope. No, it doesn't matter what I do. The world is out to get me, period. So it doesn't really matter, right? Even if someone else is providing you evidence, even if the evidence is there for you to see with your own eyes, you are not going to believe it, because you're in this spiral of victimhood and you're finding it difficult to get out. And I get it and I understand, because these are learned behaviors. These are things that you have repeated to yourself over and over and over again. So it's lodged in your mind. It's lodged in your being. So it's going to take some time to revert out of it. But that's okay. It's not impossible, and it's never too late. It is never too late, right? So we, as I mentioned previously, we have all struggled at one point or another with self-pity. Or maybe I didn't mention that and I meant to. Anyways, we'll go with that. At some point, we feel sorry for ourselves. At some point, we deal with so many challenges. They knock us down. They bring us to our knees. We feel like there's no way out. We pity ourselves and we start to think that, oh, maybe this is just the world that's out to get me. This is normal to have moments like this. It is normal to go through periods of time like this. The difference between somebody that is going through a brief moment of challenge and self-pity versus somebody that is in victim mentality is the person that is going through it temporarily can pick themselves up, will begin to realize, wait a minute, I am no longer going to allow myself to wallow in this self-pity. I'm going to dust myself off. I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to take control back. Whereas the person that is struggling with victim mentality is going to remain there. It's perpetual. It's a perpetual state of helplessness, fear, guilt, shame, pessimism, despair, and it is consuming. It is consuming. That is something that I want you to recognize. So if this is you, if you're feeling like, I think this might be me, I think this is the period of life I'm in, you will know because it consumes you. Those feelings of despair, helplessness, hopelessness, depression, all those things, and the serious feeling like it's happening to you and it's outside of your control, this is an indication that you are living in a victim mentality place. And that is okay. We can get you out, okay? And I want us to kind of know that all of our feelings and emotions, and this is actually a good segue to the next set of lives that are going to be coming out after this one. It's going to be very exciting. So all of our emotions and all of our feelings are kind of on a sliding scale as far as their energetic output, their vibration, and their frequency, okay? So things like love, kindness, compassion, they're very high vibe. They're really, like if you think about it, it just penetrates out your entire being. And that's why you will magnetically attract people to you when you're moving from this incredible place of love, compassion, peace, and all these things. You'll notice people will come to you. When you're living from a place of victim mentality, it's a very low vibration. It's very dense. Your aura is very close to you. You're very closed off. You'll find that people tend to avoid you or things of that nature, right? So keep in mind that it's on this kind of like ever revolving scale where, fear and helplessness and shame and guilt, these are all kind of low vibrational feelings, but we want to increase that vibration so that our output is amazing, so that we feel better and then we spread it for all the world to see. So in saying that, to come out of victim mentality is to begin increasing your overall vibration. And as you do so, the world begins to shift, and so does your outlook. You won't be able to help it. Once you move out of victimhood and you move into love, compassion, kindness, you won't be able to go back. You will just simply view the world differently and you will see what you can make manifest for yourself. So let's talk about some common traits associated with victim mentality. I want to kind of identify and clarify some of these for you. So we talked about some of these before, so I'm going to go through them quickly. Refusal to accept the responsibility for your problems or issues. You feel like you are not to blame and, they are absolutely a victim of circumstance. That's number one. Minimal to no acceptance of blame for where you are currently in your life. Unwilling to consider suggestions or solutions, you complain instead. This is a big one. If you find yourself in complain mode, complain, but you're not willing to take any solutions, you're not willing to do anything different, you're coming from a place of victim mentality. If you can hold intense grudges, so much so you're unwilling to consider forgiveness as an option, this is another kind of sign. And I mean, we've all been there. We've all held a grudge or two, trust me. But there is freedom in forgiveness, and forgiveness is for you. It is not for the other person. I just kind of want to make that clear. And funnily enough, when I read this, I was like, oh, that's interesting, but you're right. So I want to just read this. Interestingly enough, people in victim mentality, as much as they blame others for their circumstances, they are not assertive when it comes to speaking to their needs and desires. So even though you're complaining, and you've got this big boisterous voice in terms of why you're a victim, you're not willing to speak up for what you need and say, hey, wait a minute, I could move out of this if I had more kindness from other people, if people spoke to me in this way, if I were to sort through and deal with these difficult emotions, things would be very different. People in victim mentality have difficulty actually saying those things and speaking those things and being assertive in what they need. If you're feeling like the world is out to get you, that everything's wrong in your life and nothing good has ever happened, nor will it ever, when you're erring on the side of perpetual pessimism and you're pointing out all the bad, even when there's good around, then finally, if you're overly critical and tend to have difficulties maintaining relationships, it could be, again, this victim mentality, right? So let me just look at the comments here. Shannon says, wanted to check in before I head out and I'll have to watch the replay. Ooh la la, live the curly hair. That's so funny. Thank you, Shannon, and enjoy your appointment. So let's talk about how victim mentality develops, because there's a couple of ways that this can develop. Number one, through actual victimization or trauma. So when those things happen, obviously they're really, really traumatic. It doesn't matter if it's a big T, like a big trauma, or a little trauma, you find yourself in that victim mode. You will find yourself in victim mentality. But it's the not coming out of it. If that continues to perpetuate and you don't move through it and you don't move out of it, that's when when victimhood turns into victim mentality. So that's one of the ways. And this is even more exacerbated if the traumatic event took place in childhood, because this is in your formidable years when you're the most malleable, when you're taking in your environment. So if something happens to you while you're a child, especially a traumatic event, this victim mentality then becomes ingrained in you, and it becomes something you've learned, and then it becomes even more challenging and even more difficult to move through at a later date, because it's so a part of who you are. It's part of your personality. It's part of your being. So to break out of it can be a little bit more challenging, but not impossible. And this also happens as a child. If your mom and dad or your primary caregivers, whoever they were, if they lived from a victim mentality perspective, and that is what they showed you, that is what they modeled for you, that is the behavior that they allowed you to see over and over again, this is all you know. It might not even be your fault, but it starts with awareness. So if that is you and you think back and you're like, wait a minute, my mom and dad were the same way and now I'm the same way because they are the same way, these become automatic and habitual thought processes, which makes it a little bit more difficult and a little bit of challenge to actually recognize them because they're so deeply ingrained in your being. But again, not impossible. None of this is impossible to break free from. I just want you to know that. So when these things happen during childhood, or if there's trauma, this moves to becoming a coping mechanism like projection. That's a similar coping mechanism. So too is victim mentality. And it's something that you begin to fall back on when things spiral out of control, because having to deal with whatever is bothering you, whatever is causing you to have these feelings and back away, is too scary and too fearful and too stressful that the ego wants to keep you safe. So it's like, well, none of this is my fault. None of this is my responsibility. So it allows you to take a step back and not do the scary thing, not actually deal with the issue, the root of the problem, the origin story, which can be a little bit frightening and a little bit scary. But through fear, through the unknown, through pushing yourself comes great expansion. That's something I want you to keep in the back of your mind. And even if you realize and you think right now in this moment, oh my God, I'm living from victim mentality. Even if you know that you're living from this place, it can be difficult to let it go because it's your safety blanket. It's the thing you have relied on for years and years and years and years. So to let it go can be so much more difficult because you're like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? This has been keeping me safe. This ability to just simply blame all of my challenges on other people. If I let this go, it's going to leave me very vulnerable. And that is true. But again, from this will come exponential growth. It's going to be a little bit scary. That's okay. All good things come from a bit of fear. So let's chat a little bit about why people continue to be a victim. And I said I was going to come back to this. And again, if this is you, I want you to know that there is a way out. If this is you, I want you to be really honest with yourself and begin to admit that these are some of the reasons that you are staying or finding yourself perpetually in this state of mind. Because remember, it's a mindset. And if it is a mindset, it's within your control. So you might continue to be a victim because you don't actually have to take responsibility. You can simply blame other people. People tend to give you heaps and heaps of attention because they want you to start seeing the bright side. They want to cheer you up. They don't like seeing you down. So you actually get a ton of attention when you live from victim mentality because people want nothing more than to uplift your spirits, especially those closer to you. So you're getting lots and lots and lots of attention in an attempt to make you happy. So you're perceiving this instead of perceiving it as, ooh, man, like they're really kind of kissing my butt here. But instead of seeing it like, oh, maybe this is a sign that I should make some changes, you're seeing it as validation, right? So people feel sorry for you. And this comes across, this is misconstrued as love. People feeling sorry for you. Then, oh, poor Denise, like she went through this, and that sympathy becomes validating. It gives you a hall pass, for lack of a better word, to complain as opposed to think outside the box and consider something different. We get caught in complain mode. And I myself have been there. A lot of people I know have been there as well too, where we complain and complain and complain, and you do not think of solutions. If you don't do something different, if you continue to complain without changing your behavior, you will have more of the same. People don't criticize you with victim mentality because they're scared. They walk on eggshells around you because they're worried that if they say something, they're going to upset you. So you don't have to deal with anyone's stuff. You don't have to deal with anyone's garbage because they're all too scared to talk to you because you're going to be upset. And this next one is interesting because it's like you never tire of telling your story. You're so used to telling your victim story to people. You're so used to saying that one thing over and over and over again and sharing that story consistently that you never tire of it. It's your go-to. It's become your persona. So you almost get excited and you get kind of like when you buy something from the store, you get like this hit of happiness. It's the same thing when you tell your victim story. You actually get something out of it and you get addicted to that. And people will give you what you want at the end of the day, even though it might be out of pity. It could be out of pity. People might relent and say, okay, you know what? You've been through so much. You've been such a victim. I'm just going to give you whatever it is you need. It feels like validation, but again, they're doing this because they don't want you to continue to feel sad or feel upset. But is that a way to live? Is this a way to live? That's something I want you to ask yourself. Is it worth it? Do I want to continue feeling this way? Or do I want to do things differently? ? So let's talk about doing things differently, how to get out of victim mentality. Number 1, and this is the biggest one, recognize that your thoughts create your reality, period. Your brain is so powerful. The mind, the way you think, your thoughts have the ability to create what you see. Because, and I had this conversation with somebody yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. We were talking about how reality is manifested. We as people, and the science there backs it, and you can take yourself down a rabbit hole. We look like we're made of skin, we can feel it, but we are comprised of atoms, and atoms are comprised of 99.9% empty space, waves. So before we can make anything or give anything context in our physical world, we have to know and define what it is, right? So for me to see my desk, I need to know what a desk is. And I'm like, okay, this is a desk. The desk is here now. So if that is how our reality is created, based on how we perceive things, based on observation, and our thoughts are what dictate what we observe, if we're consistently thinking we are a victim, we are going to be shown evidence of it left, right, and center. And we are only going to seek out, our brain is only going to be scanning the world to look for evidence. Then this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, meaning you will seek out all the reasons you're a victim, and your environment will be like, oh yeah, here it is, Denise, you're a victim of this, you're a victim of that. But that's all you're geared towards. It's like, think about tuning into a radio station, like those old dials, you've got to kind of twist them and turn them. And when you get one, that's all you're going to hear. Same with victim mentality. If you're dialed into victim mentality constantly, that's all you're going to see. But by the same token, if you're dialed into optimism and what if things were great and what if things were easy and I'm no longer a victim and I'm going to be strong and I'm empowered, if that is the messaging that you're giving yourself, your brain will then tune into that next channel and you will start to see evidence of that. So whatever your output is, whatever your beliefs are, is what you're going to get back magnetically. So recognize your thoughts create reality. That is the most important of them all. Number 2, take your power and control back. Even though it is easier to play the victim, that is not empowering. That is giving your power away. That is telling other people that they can dictate how you're going to show up, how you're going to live your life, what you're going to do with it, and how you're going to navigate the world. No more. You are in control. You decide. It's up to you. So as soon as you realize that you can forge a life for yourself based on what you want, and you can move out of victim mentality, and nobody has control over you, woof, you are in the driver's seat, my friend. Take the keys back and put it in drive. You are in control. Let's just realize that for one moment here. Number 3, start viewing yourself as a survivor instead of a victim. This is a big shift I see as I speak to a lot of you here in the group, as I speak to a lot of people on Instagram or Facebook or whoever I'm interacting with. People have a difficult time viewing themselves as a survivor. It's much easier to view yourself as a victim than it is to view yourself as a survivor. But if you look at, let's say you went through an assault, for example, of whatever kind, and you're like, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim consistently, you will live that life. You will push yourself into victim mentality. But if you say, this happened to me, but I'm a survivor, how much more powerful is that? Like, even I have like goosebumps because you're like, no, that happened to me. That's on the other person, but I am a bloody survivor and I made it through and I'm taking this back and I'm living my life the way I want to. I'm not living my life in fear any longer. And you put one foot in front of the other every single day, 1 foot, 1 minute, 1 moment, and have gratitude for the fact that you were able to navigate something so challenging, something some other people might not have been able to survive. You are a survivor. You are not a victim. Very passionate today. Number 4, practice self-love and compassion. Even now, right now as I'm talking to you, this topic could be very activating. You might be getting mad on the other side of this computer screen being like, she doesn't know. She doesn't know what I've been through. She doesn't know what the world has done to me. She doesn't know. And I don't know. You're right. But what I do know is that you can move through this. And you can, now that you're aware that maybe this is the first time you've been thinking about it and you're like, holy cow, she's right. I've been living my life this way. I need to get out of it immediately. Have some compassion for yourself. Give yourself some love because maybe you aren't ready to realize this is what's happening. Maybe you aren't quite there yet. Maybe this is your first time hearing about this and you think you need to change immediately. No. Be okay. Radically accept where you are right here, right now. You're right where you're meant to be. And you're taking from this particular life what it is you need to move forward. So give yourself a hug, give yourself some love, have some compassion, have some patience, because it's probably ingrained in you. This is very habitual and it's going to take time to reverse. This next one is fun. Start saying the word I instead of you. So for example, if you're saying to somebody, you make me so angry all the time. Like, oh, like you're ruining my day. Like you're so irritating. Start saying I instead. I am so angry right now. I am so upset right now. I feel irritated. I don't like the way you're behaving. I feel like I'm being impacted. Take it back. Stop saying you and start saying I, because this is a very small way to begin taking your power back and using I statements to claim how you feel as opposed to placing blame on other people. Having gratitude. Need I say more? This is my favorite thing in the whole world. Find the blessings that surround you because there's blessings in everything. And I challenged a lot of you this week here in the group, in the Facebook group, because I had asked this question about pessimism and I had asked a couple questions about a couple different things. And a lot of people felt pessimistic. And I challenged many of you saying, find one thing to be optimistic about. Find one thing to be grateful for. What can you smile at right now? Count your blessings. Look around you. As soon as you feel like you're going into victim mentality, find 5 things around you that you can be grateful for. Even 10 things. Because you don't have to write it down. Don't make it complicated. You can even go around the room and name them. This will help to shift your mindset because you will see how much you have in your life to support you, how much you have in your life that is an absolute blessing, and it will start to shift that victim mentality. And acts of kindness, friends, acts of kindness, it's without anything in return. Do something kind, even today. That is my challenge for you today. I want you to do one kind thing for another person without expecting anything in return, because it is psychologically proven that if we are engaging in acts of kindness, it instantly uplifts our spirit. It is impactful to our overall well-being. And when you see that you can have that much of an impact on another person and you doing something for another person, what it does for them, it is uplifting and it will help support you get out of that victim mentality. And it will allow you to validate yourself. Instead of needing validation from others, you're like, man, I just did something incredible for someone. Wow, that just feels amazing, right? And finally, notice when you are not taking responsibility. All of these things begin with observation. Observe when you're shifting blame and not recognizing the part you're playing in it. Observe when you're saying you instead of saying I. And you can even try a mantra with this. I am empowered. I can drive change in this situation. I am empowered. I have control of the situation. I am empowered. I can change the outcome here. It is within my grasp. So some of these things are ways in which you can really move out of victim mentality. And honestly, seeking support is another way. And I know I say this after every live, and I don't do this with the intention to try and sell you something. Yes, I'm a counselor. Yes, I offer paid services. Yes, this is how I make my living. But I am continuing to offer it to you so that you know you're not alone. So that you know that you have a place to turn to. So you know that if you're feeling like a victim day in and day out, there is a way to get out, and it does take time. And if you are curious about what it might be like to work with me to get out of victim mentality, let me know. Send me a message. Get a hold of me however you want to get a hold of me. I am available across all social media platforms, but I want to discuss it with you. I want to see if it's a good fit. I want to see if this is something I can help you with, because truly and honestly, watching you catapult to the next level, watching you level up is my passion. And watching it happen with my clients just blows my mind each and every day. So with that, my friends, I hope you have a delightful weekend. I hope that the sun shines the whole time. I hope you find a way to feel gratitude. I hope you find a way to do an act of kindness. And if you have found a way, or you did an act of kindness today, drop it in the comments. I want to hear all about it. And with that, I will see you next week. It's going to be an exciting few weeks after that, because I've got something really excited planned. Woo! Something to look forward to. All right, friends, I need to go out of here. I need to get out of here. I got things to do. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.